Okay, everybody, it is me, Gregory Mannarino, and I am still angry. I have a lot of stuff to cover with you, more economic news, which is, well, abysmal. I don't know another way to put it here. Our economy, it's in free fall with no end in sight. And I'm just going to prove that to you here this morning with, again, some of the economic news that we got today and after the market yesterday. So anyway, it is Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021. Let's start off with the markets first here. Right now, stock futures are slightly in the negative. Okay, whatever. After a rally like we had yesterday, what else would you expect here? The market is out of control and it does make no sense anymore. I am not a permabull people, but I'm telling you that the easy money is not going to stop. And if you believe that this market is going to crater anytime soon, you are very, very wrong. When any security or even an entire market is overvalued or even massively overvalued, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to correct at any given time. As a matter of fact, what it does mean is it will stay that way for a prolonged period of time. So for those of you out here who, again, are listening to some very misguided people out here on YouTube, they don't understand the market. They don't understand the dynamics of it. And stay away from these people. They're going to hurt you. They're going to cause you to lose money or prevent you from making it. All right. And that's not what this channel is all about. This channel is about keeping yourselves in the right spot, at least from a financial standpoint, and not allowing this freak show to win. We're not going to let it beat us. Forget about it. I promised all of you years ago I will not allow that to happen on my watch, and I won't. So anyway, with that said, so stock futures are slightly in the negative right now. Gold and silver are slightly higher. Cryptocurrencies are fractionally in the red. Bitcoin's still around 49,000. Crude oil fractionally lower after that 4.5% run higher yesterday. That was an incredible run. 10-year yield normalizing, people, and the dollar is weaker. So it's not a bad setup here for the market moving forward. And the MMRI is saying their risk remains low. Again, people don't get over like complacent here, whatever the word might be. When risk is low in this market, which it is right now, which means people are going to be buying this market, institutions are going to be buying the market, it doesn't mean no risk, okay? There's always risk in the market, but we can gauge that by looking at not just the MMRI, but taking in what's going on around us. It's not that hard to stay on the right side of this. And the reason I believe that most people fail to allow themselves to capitalize on what's going on around them is they just don't know where to look. It's all confusing. I understand that. Believe me, this environment is a freak show. Duh, right? But it's not that hard to get ourselves in the right spots. And, the most simple way to capitalize on this, people, is to become your own central bank, which I've told you now for an entire decade. Betting against the debt, becoming your own central bank that is holding hard assets. Let JP Morgan play their games in the metals market. Let them do it. Okay, I smile because what they're doing for you and I is artificially suppressing the price of gold and silver based on exploding, and I mean exploding, global debt. What did we find out yesterday? The IMF. Global debt hits a new record high. Does it make any sense to you that gold and silver have been locked in kind of a flatline state for quite a long time? No, it doesn't. This is JP Morgan rigging the market, and everybody on Wall Street knows it. Even the commodities exchange knows it. They keep turning a blind eye to it. When you're a Wall Street super bank, people, like I tell you all the time, you can get away with murder. You can get away with anything. And so expect that as well. So I'm going to cover some things with you here, and some of it is such absolute propaganda, you're going to laugh. So the story, there's several things going on here. I almost don't know where to begin here. All right, so anyway, let's start off with this. So apparently, U.S. GDP, gross domestic product, was revised higher in the third quarter. You got to laugh at this. From 2.1% to 2.3%. Oh, that's great. But what they will not tell you is the U.S. debt to GDP ratio has skyrocketed 19% year over year. So as I have been telling you since time immemorial, the United States economy as a percentage of GDP is in literal free fall with no end in sight. This is by design. Do you not believe that this is by design? This is the Federal Reserve fulfilling its end game, okay, to be the lender and buyer of last resort. It's in your freaking face. All right, so but you see, you're not allowed to know these things. They will not tell you. All they're going to do is go, oh yeah, U.S. GDP was revised higher from 2.1%, which is pathetic, all right, to 2.3%. But our debt to GDP ratio is surging higher at its fastest pace ever. But you're not allowed to know that. Anyway, people, it's just revolting here. So yeah, our economy is cratering faster than ever. I mean, it's out of control. So what else did we find out? A couple of things here which will not surprise you whatsoever. And I covered this recently. Food and energy prices continue to skyrocket. I told you, like, I don't know, a week or two ago that you're going to continue to see food and energy prices, just hyper balloon. It's out of control. I don't know another way to put it. People are hurting here. People continue to borrow from their credit cards just to make ends meet here. People in the middle class, or people who used to be in the middle class, are clawing themselves to try to keep themselves on the right side of this, but all they're doing is making it worse by borrowing. But I guess they have no choice. I don't know what to say. It's a terrible thing to see people suffer like this. And like I was saying yesterday, yes, I am angry, and you should be angry too. Anyway, materials costs continue to surge, new record high. As real wages crater, people, look, if you were to turn on the mainstream financial channels, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, people are earning more money, and this is just fantastic. But based upon inflation, purchasing power is evaporating. So real wages are cratering. It's a terrible offset, and again, people are getting hurt. But this is, again, by design. Absolutely incredible. In Europe right now, Europe is facing an energy crisis with regard to natural gas shortages, people. Look, you can expect more of this energy issues moving forward, and it's going to become extreme. Especially with, again, what are they talking about? Turn on the mainstream. They're talking about supply chain disruptions over and over and over again. It's Omicron, it's moronic, it's whatever they want you to look at that particular moment here. Here's another piece of economic news that shouldn't surprise you, and it's very troubling to me as well. Rents are rising 3 times faster year over year. I mean, it's epic. You want to talk about pressure, again, on the middle class. Look, I always talk about the middle class. People that are well off, people that are rich, it doesn't really hurt them so much, okay? Yeah, they get concerned about it, but it's not something that they think about. But if you're a member of the middle class trying to make ends meet, it hurts. The people in the lower rung, they're done. I tell you that all the time. They're done already. Now, this is something I want to touch on just real quick. The Federal Reserve is involved in something called a reverse repo. I think we all know that. A reverse repo is very simple to understand. It's a transaction between two parties where one party is agreeing to sell a security, no matter what it might be, with the promise that it will be bought back at a specific time in the future at a specific price. Okay, it's like a futures contract. You understand? So right now we have 4 days where the Fed's reverse repo has hit records in all 4 days. Now again, what is really behind this, people? It's about liquidity. I've explained this to you over and over again, despite the fact that the Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world are pumping this world full of debt, it's not enough. I'm telling you, it's not enough. So you got these kinds of scams like a reverse repo where they're moving capital from one place to another, back and forth, which gives the illusion of more liquidity with regard to the global markets. So again, look, there's going to be a moment here where we're going to end up, again, in an absolute total credit freeze, a lockup of the entire global economy because there's not enough debt. I know how crazy that sounds. But the debt-based economic model is a monster. It's a Frankenstein, okay? And as you all understand how it works, because I cover it to the point of nauseum, it demands that more debt be borrowed in greater and greater and greater amounts from the future. And they will create any reason on earth to borrow more cash from the future, no matter what they have to do. They'll conjure up anything to cause that to happen, to make us borrow more money from the future. It has to happen. So the fact of the matter is even though we have an epic amount of debt and it gets greater and greater every single second, there's not enough debt to sustain the system. So they get involved in things like reverse repos and all kinds of other mechanisms to, again, fool the system into believing that there's more debt than there actually is because there's not enough. I know how twisted that sounds yet again. And this is why I can tell you with a 100% certainty that you haven't seen anything yet with regard to surging debt. If they have to again, they'll make up reasons to borrow cash into existence, whatever it might be. And that's why, again, we don't have a budget. Here in the United States, you're seeing debts and deficits skyrocket. There's no magic behind it. You understand? It's just the nature of the beast. Anyway, people, look, I wanted to cover this with you. I think a lot of stuff here is important. If you agree, I would like to hear from you. Please share the video. Please get it out there. Pay attention to what's going on, as I explained to you, and be ready for anything. Our economy is in free fall with no end in sight. And it will not stop until the entire middle class is exterminated. And if that is you, you better start taking action now. Love you a lot. See you later.